Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another cast of Major League Mech Warrior. This is the last round of Week 7, QQ Mercenary Corporation versus 228th IBR's Black Watch. Joining me today is Army of One. How's it going, man?
It's going great. In fact, it's going so good we're missing the Sony press conference right now.
Yeah, for you 9 people that I see already watching this, man, you've got some real dedication to be watching this instead of Sony, or maybe just on top of Sony. Maybe you've got two open, maybe you should. Because E3's happening. This will be up on YouTube later for any of you who, see your game and just have to bail out in the middle of a match. They will be up later, so don't worry. For those of you who are dedicated enough to stick around, I've got lots of mech bays to give away, like another 5 or 6 or 7 or however many I can remember to give away, depending on how long this series lasts. So, traditional Major League Mech Warrior rules, Conquest 3333, Skirmish 720 tons, Conquest 3333, Skirmish 600 tons, and then back to Conquest on the last drop. All drops on Crimson Strait this week. What do you think about this map, Army?
It actually wasn't the map that I was expecting. I accidentally thought that it was last week's map. I was looking at HPG. I was thinking, oh yeah, HP, open up the map tactic. That's not HP. Gotta switch the
No,
overlay.
not
Okay, let's get into this.
yeah, no, not quite, not quite. This is Crimson Strait, and definitely an interesting map, and one that has a couple of imbalanced locations that I think that before we get into this, I would like to point out here.
Yeah, I mean, you.
For the viewers, have a special surprise: automatic overlay switching. Allegedly, there will never be another radio broadcast on this channel. I can't promise, but this auto switcher, it's up to it now. I'm not in control, so pray with me, viewers.
Well, if anything does go wrong, I'm manually doing it, and I've actually got my own custom overlay that I just threw together on OBS. So nothing fancy, nothing high tech, other than this huge computer that's sitting next to me, but nothing automated. So if something screws up, it's my fault.
Well, that's good to know. We've got one running on automatic and one running manual, both with a high possibility of failure. This is going to be an exciting day. So, taking a look at map tactic here, the position I want to talk about in particular, in Army, I just gave you drawing powers, so you do have this now. But is this D5, D6 hill. It's a big hill, the top ridge is like right there. And it is a phenomenal defensive position. If you watch the matches between Atari Scorpions and Clan Smoke Jaguar, I guess we can just do a quick recap of those. First drop, CSJ sort of held up here. AS did an interesting split push where they harassed with their lights, came in with their beef from here and some storm crows from here. It was a good push, came down really close. CSJ only had 4 standing mechs at the end, a couple of those heavily wounded, but ultimately AS's push got just a little too strung out there, and it didn't work out for him. Second drop was this fun little point that I've drawn on the map down there in D5, D6. Basically, it's the ultimate place to camp on this map. I remember seeing this a long time ago. Imperial used this to great effect against SJR. But CSJ sat up on that hill, and AS just had nowhere to go, nowhere to approach from. They ended up going over ridge because it was the shortest approach, but there was just nothing they could do but get mowed down on the way in.
So we'll be seeing that hill really be used a lot in Conquest. Whoever spawns on the right side of the map, that's going to be their go-to spot to bunker down and get a good
Well, I
firing
don't know about
line.
Conquest because it's away
Sorry,
from so many
skirmish.
points.
Sorry, I did mean skirmish.
And it basically comes down to who basically, if they do what AS did, I think AS basically just didn't remember that spot existed, didn't think about it. But basically, if you lose the first drop, you get to pick which side of the map you want to be on, and you need to pick this side of the map. This, the side with D5, D6, because if you don't get it and they get to camp it, and you have to push them as you do in the second round. If you're down one, then you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage. So I definitely expect whatever team wins drop one to be forced to spawn out, on the island side in drop two. And if they don't, then I expect them to just take that hill and camp it.
Now, during the conquest matches, I think that we should expect to see people in D4 camping the top of the garage. That gives you excellent coverage of Epsilon and Kappa, as well as a bit of space behind you. You can also grab Sigma as well on this map, at least. I'm not sure what it is in game at the moment because they changed everything around. But I think D4 and C4, that area is going to be, that pass is going to be the most vital position on the map in Conquest.
And I can definitely see that. It does have a couple of issues depending on what you decide to do. If you go up top, you're sort of exposed to a push from below sometimes, although you can really make good use of those manholes up there and shoot down through. But I feel like whatever team spawns up top, and I sort of expect QQ since they have the choice of drop zones, that, I mean, if it was me, I would pick this gamma drop zone and I would just try to control these 3 points. You can have nice firing lines on Epsilon from that ridge there. If you want, you can move your guys up into the city in here to protect it as well. I just think it's easier to pull off half map control from that side. You can definitely shoot down on Epsilon from the top platform, but it's harder to actually cap it.
Right. You certainly wouldn't be. You'd be denying the point rather than controlling it.
Although a quick light cap very well could get in on Epsilon early if the other team is lazy. We'll have to see what kind of decks they bring. I could definitely see some people try and kite ravens again here, but fire starters are good on this map. Those buildings make fire starters fantastic for close-in combat.
Yeah, I don't think that. I don't think we'll be seeing the same tactics that we saw in Tourmaline, where we had the ravens with large lasers, for instance. Not as much, at least. It'll be fire starters, fast movers, and quick hitters.
Definitely. And the team that is spawned on Sigma side, and again, we're just going to call these the points that they are here, because I don't know why PGI renamed the points, and I refuse to call them by their new points.
It's map balance. Dumb. We're balancing the maps whatever, because too many people were taking Epsilon, so they called something else Epsilon that wasn't... Wait, that's not how it works.
I really did wonder when they first changed it whether it was like just a stupid bug or if it was something really dumb. Like they thought, well, maybe if we change the names, they'll go to different points, like the lamest psychology experiment ever. Where
and
let's take the middle
point
and not name it Theta.
I have to interrupt you because Carp says that they are dropping.
Yeah, it looks like they did just get in game, so I should probably get up the spectator site and launch.
And I'm launching in myself.
Launching on Carp. I'm clicking the client, auto switch works. It's like magic. No more radio broadcasts.
And they're off.
Looks like we've got blue is QQ down here. 3 dire wolves. We've got 3 fire starters. 3 Wolverines, probably the large laser builds, and a Hellbringer and 2 Timberwolves, so a little bit of ECM, but pretty standard deck.
And Blade Sprint is already headed straight toward that Epsilon cap in the middle that we were just talking about. And it looks like, they're not going to be able to defend against that cap at all.
Very similar drop decks here. I'm seeing Wolverines, all Hellbringers instead of Timberwolves, and of course Direwolves and Fire Starters. For 228, the Fire Starter is going all the way to Theta right now, and they might actually catch Nuber alone. Nuber coming on in this Fire Starter, but he is totally isolated. If he gets caught out by these other... Oh, he sees him. He sees, and he's getting the hell out of there. Smart move. He did not get caught. A relentless push across the water here from 228. Lots of trading power.
Artillery strike online.
and QQ has taken that middle epsilon cap spot, so they are now even on caps.
And 228th heading towards Bravo 2. Their direwolves quite a ways in the back, but they've got covering fire on them. They're just sitting there on Overwatch, and I expect them to pause at the city here to wait for their beef. QQ really balled up back here, sitting on that ridge, waiting for them to come into the city.
And a good artillery strike on Peter 2000 and his Wolverine. He probably doesn't want to be hanging around there too much because QQ's just sitting right over that ridge.
Yep, looking at damage numbers, I see a couple of pretty damaged Wolverines for QQ. Rygat almost lost his right arm, and that's basically that entire build. Johan is already neutered in his Wolverine, so that's basically one mech down for QQ. I mean, he's got armor, but... Michelius, 70% to Hellbringer for 228. Let's take a look at him. He
has no left arm or torso. He only has a medium laser and a Gauss rifle.
Not bad, though. Still, he can put out DPS with that, and he's fairly fresh otherwise.
Artillery strike online. Artillery strike online.
Both teams playing it very cautiously here, just taking small trades when they can through the buildings, not really making a huge effort to move.
It seems that 228th has come from the Bay Area and retaken Epsilon, so they are now up on caps to QQ.
Got 3-1, so they're winning quite heavily now on caps, and QQ's going to have to make a move here, and it looks like they are rotating right. See, this is not a great place for QQ to be trading from. It's way too tight of a lane. Their 3 direwolves are pretty stacked up. Floff heavily wounded, or Fate 6 heavily wounded here. Floff heavily wounded in his direwolf, but wow, Plasma just got a full load in the face from 2 direwolves. And the direwolves from 228th smartly staying as far back as they can, very fresh. It's going to be very difficult looking at these wounded QQ direwolves to compete with those fresh ones back there. 228th has just done a better job on trading here. Just from the looks of those assaults. 1 down. Nuber and his Firestarter went down for QQ. I don't know exactly when that happened. I really wish they had kill messages.
Just wait until July 27th. Then we'll have a nice UI to use.
Versenix down too. I don't know what he was in, but... So it's... Oh, now 3 down for QQ. I don't know where these guys are dropping from. And now 228th, looks like they're moving in for the kill. They're pushing aggressively left. QQ trying to retreat back in the city, perhaps fall over left on Michelius, the Hellbringer. He is stranded, and I do think the Firestarters are going to take him down.
Riot's Wolverine is cord CT, so if he pokes out just a little bit more, he's going to go down pretty quickly.
Artillery strike online.
I see Zero leading the charge in his direwolf. Let's get in on him.
New target acquired.
Please, please.
Target destroyed. New target acquired.
.228 is absolutely just incapacitating QQ right now, taking off components from Timberwolves, killing Timberwolves like Pisces Zero just did. It's
Yeah, it's just cleanup, and this is what happens when the direwolves don't take damage early on. You see what a disadvantage it puts that entire team at. They just got whittled down. 228 just had the better trades, had the better firing lanes.
and that's it. 228th is up 1-0 to QQ Mercs. And you can see just from the damage numbers how imbalanced this was in 228's favor. The highest damage output in QQ Mercs is around 400, not even breaking it. But you see Pisces 0 at almost double that.
Pisces 0, you get 500 MC for that round, pal. You touched everybody, which is my favorite thing to do in a match. But you also got 800 points and 4 kills, so very nicely done. But yeah, you look at their damage, pretty steady across the board. A couple outliers under 200 or 100 not doing that great, but for the most part, they carried it through, and they had, on average, probably 100 more damage, if not 200 more. They just made the better trades there, and it shows. They just had the better lines, and their direwolves especially, they really coddled them. Pisces 0 on that direwolf. I'll bet you that most likely to suck was probably in a direwolf, although I can't see that, but those heavy mechs got allowed to do the damage that they
most likely
needed
to suck was in a Wolverine, the 2K.
I guess that wouldn't surprise me, but wouldn't have been my first guess. So Blackwatch takes the first match against QQ. If it's switching overlays, it's just that's how it works now. It's kind of awful that it has to switch automatically, but it's better than not seeing the match. So good enough. I'm gonna go ahead and get on map tactic here and clear off what we've already drawn. So, QQ did pretty much what I expected. They took the upper side. They did set up basically around here. They set up in this sort of clearing out there. I just don't know that you can get great trades out of there. I don't know. I haven't really fought out of there and really taken a look at what you can do versus what kind of looks they're getting in the water, but it sure seemed like they were sure getting out traded. I mean, early on, they did take Epsilon, but then, you know, that was just a quick light rush, and then they got out of there. 228 actually took Theta really early on to put some pressure on QQ. And at some point, I think they ran off and got Kappa, and they already had Sigma. Maybe they didn't even get Kappa. You know that I think about it?
I don't think they actually got Kappa.
Epsilon. They took Epsilon after they'd pushed QQ back, and so it really made it this awkward task for QQ. I think it was a really smart play to attack Theta like they did because, you know, effectively all the guys out in the water have got great lines on Theta and everywhere around it. So once they had control of that, it was a really risky play for QQ to try to take it back. And of course, Epsilon, they just didn't have the ground to get it done. They needed to win the trades, and of course, they did not, you know. 228th with like a split line, kind of, with the direwolves on Overwatch. Everybody had great looks, and that's what it came down to.
Yeah, I think it's at least a bit counterintuitive for me to set up in that C2 just in the water. You know, I mostly play pugs, mostly play solo, and teamwork there is few and far between, to say the least. And if you were to try anything like this tactic that 228 did, you'd be absolutely shredded because those lines work both ways. You can see at every point on Theta, but everyone in A2, A3, B3, they can all see you too. But the difference is, when you have 12 people sitting in C2, if one person pops out from behind cover, everyone can see them and everyone can jump on them.
Exactly, and that's really what it comes down to in these high-level competitive matches, is you're better off owning a spot and being completely without cover whatsoever. But if you own that space first, you know, then when one of them, or two of them, or even six of them pop up, it's your 12 against however many they just got over a ridge, and usually you're going to take one or two of them down, you know, in that Antari Scorpion CSJ match. The first Centurion to crest over ridge got melted. I mean, it had just touched the apex of the ridge, and it got just blown apart, and that's what that focus fire will do. That's what high level game is all about. And I think having that sort of split line where one was behind the other allowed them sometimes to have two mechs trading whenever one QQ guy was popping out in any given lane.
And I didn't watch the match myself, but I will note Centurions do have lower hip hip height hard points in the right arm, in the CT, and you'll have to expose yourself much more than something with a higher hard point. I'm sure that that Centurion wanted to get some shots off before retreating, and that's probably not the best idea in a Centurion.
Well, to be fair, AS was going full brawl. It was all Wangs, nothing but Wangs and Direwolves, which was, I don't know. I almost thought the Direwolves just ruined their strategy for them, because if it had just been like all Wangs and some other fast mechs, then I think they would have maybe had the speed to push up on CSJ as fast as they needed to. But with the Direwolves, it was just like, they're just gimped in terms of the movement, and that is why I actually really like the Skirmish 720 tons, which is coming up next, by the way, because you can really do some interesting drop decks and you can make it more uniform, so you've got more speed to play with. And for me, that's definitely always what I'm about.
And I think it's interesting to note that most of the clan mechs, just because of how they're constructed in tabletop and how they were brought here to MechWarrior Online, is they all have fixed engines. So you can't change engines on, say, a Stormcrow or a Timberwolf, and they all move the same speed. Stormcrows and Timberwolves, they will move in a pack, and you won't have stragglers or outliers unless you're bringing dire whales, in which case you lose that advantage of mobility and the ability to react. But I would imagine we're going to see a lot of clan mechs that have the same speed.
Definitely. I think that, especially for for less experienced competitive teams, I think that clan mechs are the way to go because they force you to run at the same speed. Everything is going about 90, and that's great. You just can't beat a force of all tonnages that's all moving at that uniform speed there. It's why the clan mechs have been so dominant, because you look at anything that the IS does, and it's either it's a little bit sturdier because it's got a regular standard engine and it's way gimped in firepower, or it's just as fast with an XL, but it's super squishy because it's an IX XL. And just to announce, Oni Musashin and the Beef, you win the first two mech bays of the night. I'm trying to figure out where I put my mech bay codes for you. So, all right, there we go. I love Twitch's new whisper thing. That is just the greatest thing that's ever happened. They are in lobby, so I assume we'll be launching shortly-ish here. I also see a couple in Mech Lab, so that never bodes well, but who knows?
So I was a little, I guess, curious with the statement that I said. And just looking at the heavies, every single clan heavy moves without speed tweak at 81 kilometers an hour. Every single one without exception.
Pretty nice.
And actually, the gargoyle as well, if you wanted to take a gargoyle for some reason.
Well, yeah, and the executioner isn't close behind. I mean, they're all, aside from the dire wolf is like the outlier amongst all the clan mechs that we have, where it's like, this is totally not like the rest. This is a giant hulking monster with as many weapons as you can put on it, but the rest of them are fast as hell. Oh man. E3. Always a great time of the year. That's where all of our viewers are watching the Sony press conference, no doubt.
Were you able to catch the Nintendo World Championship last night?
No, I didn't even know that was happening.
Yeah, they brought it back first time in 25 years. They brought
I don't
back
even know what it is. What is it?
it's basically a showcase of a bunch of awesome Nintendo games and a bunch of awesome players. There were, if I remember correctly, 8 players that qualified at Best Buys or something like that, and then they invited 8 other players, one of which is one of the fastest speedrunners, or yeah, still is one of the fastest speedrunners of Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. He can actually beat that game from start to credits in less than 17 minutes. If you if you can believe that.
I
But
can. Those people are insane. I've watched some speed runs every now and then, and it's just wow, what an art form. Totally different.
but it was an excellent event last night. And the speedrunner I was talking about made it to the finals, Cosmo, if any of the viewers are familiar with him. Made it to the finals. Excellent games. Mario Kart 8, Smash Brothers, Splatoon, and they ended up with the new Super Mario Maker, a game that has not been played by these people at all. It was really a treat to watch.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch people that are masters of their craft play a game just like we're doing now in a certain extent, and especially this Sunday. Imperial versus SJR. It's going to be pretty awesome. It's going to be 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be casted, obviously. That's going to be the big, going to be the first time they meet, possibly the last, but I think that everybody believes they will probably be the last 2 teams fighting it out in the finals. It will be on the heels of a stinging Imperial loss on for Run Hot or Die. They lost against this year, I think 3-0 in that series, and it was they just didn't. It was just wasn't their night. But other nights they've done the exact same to SJR and just rolled them over. So I definitely think they're going to be out for blood. I think that SJR is just on their game lately. They just kicked the shit out of CSJ last week. They've continued their dominance with Arhad last week, and I think they're going to continue to do it. I'm really excited to see that matchup.
Well, I think the next 3 matches are just going to be excellent games of Mech Warrior. Just because whoever wins here, QQ or 228, they're up against Clan Smoke Jags, and then Clan Smoke Jags will go to play the winner of the Steel Jag Imperial match that you were just talking about for the title. It's just going to be 3 excellent games. I'm absolutely sure of it.
They are still in lobby. We're not just